The Changeling is a Canadian-made horror movie, which was directed by Peter Medak and released in 1980. It stars George C. Scott as music composer John Russell, who suffers an unspeakable tragedy and moves from New York to Seattle to start to rebuild his life. He moves into a huge manor where he may not be alone. Ooh, spooky. Director Martin Scorsese has listed the film as one of the scariest films of all time, and it's also gone on to influence other horror films such as The Others. It also won several Genie Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor. So join me, Steve Clark, as I discuss 10 good things about The Changeling. Number 1. The opening. The opening scene just kicks you in the balls. We're introduced to John Russell and his family, wife Joanna and daughter Kathy, who are going on holiday. The car is broken down and the three of them are pushing it along a snowy highway. It's a short scene, but it quickly establishes the family relationship. There are plenty of jokes and laughs as the three of them push the car along the road and bring it to a stop. John walks over to a phone booth to call for roadside assistance, laughing to himself as Joanna and Kathy start to have a snowball fight. It's a lovely scene, to start with. As John is talking on the phone, we see a large truck skidding to avoid a collision with another car, and the truck plows into John's family, killing them instantly. The scene effectively uses slow motion as John tries to get out of the phone booth to get to his family, but it is ultimately too late. There's something very effective about having the scene play out against a snowy backdrop. It almost elevates the horror of the scene. Another effective thing is the use of the title card. We see John reacting in horror to what has happened, and the title of the movie appears in red. Then the picture fades to black. It's very simple and very effective. Number 2. It's not just a haunted house movie. If you take a very brief look at the plot summary for The Changeling, you may think, oh, it's just another haunted house movie. The Amityville Horror had been released a year before The Changeling and had made a huge impact on popular culture, largely because it had been sold as a true story. Spoilers! It wasn't a true story. Apart from James Brolin looking like a member of the Bee Gees, there isn't much to recommend about the Amityville Horror, but The Changeling is totally different. The Changeling is far more than just a haunted house movie. Yes, the huge house that John Russell lives in is vast and creepy and full of corridors and hidden rooms, but the film deals with much more than that. It's a meditation on grief, guilt, and the way that the past refuses to stay buried. It also has a compelling murder mystery at its core. The film also deals with corruption and how powerful and rich people can use their wealth and privilege to rewrite history, replacing one life with another. Music also plays a huge part of the film. John Russell is a composer, and the music box theme that is used in the film takes on a huge significance. There is far more to this movie than it being a simple haunted house horror, and I love it for that. Number 3. The House on Chessman Park. The house in the film that Russell moves into is based on a real-life house in a place called Cheeseman Park in Denver, Colorado. A large part of the story of the film is based on an alleged true story when a musical arranger named Russell Hunter moved into the house in Cheeseman Park. A lot of what happens in the film allegedly happened to Hunter while he lived there, although a lot of those claims have been debunked. The house used for the film, which is set in the now renamed Chessman Park, was not actually real. The filmmakers could not find a suitable mansion to use for the film, so at a cost of around $200,000, the production had a Victorian Gothic mansion facade attached to the front of a much more modern house in a Vancouver street. This construction was used for the filming of all the exteriors of the movie's Carmichael mansion. The interiors of the haunted house were an elaborate group of interconnecting sets that were built inside Vancouver's Panorama Film Studios. I love the design of the interior of the house. It is huge and sprawling and suitably creepy. There's plenty of long corridors, hidden rooms, spooky staircases and the like, and thanks to the directing of Peter Medak, as a viewer you understand the layout and geography of the house, which is really important. The production design from Trevor Williams is excellent. It is the perfect looking house for a horror movie. Number 4. The slow burn to the reveal. I love how The Changeling takes its time in revealing the nature of the mystery at the centre of the story. After the shock opening, the film takes its breath for a while. We see John clearing out the old apartment in New York City that he used to live in with his family, and we're introduced to the significance of the red rubber ball. More on that ball later. John has moved to Seattle to take up a teaching job and work on some new music. He meets Claire Norman from the Historical Society and starts renting the house at Chessman Park. The movie takes a good chunk of time to set all of this up. We can see that John is struggling with his grief, but he is doing his best to live his life. He says to his friends that after the accident he just kept walking around, saying to himself over and over that his family was gone and he was just existing. Moving to another state and starting again seems to be the best move for John. There are flashes of humour from John. His near stand-up routine at the start of his first musical lecture is a highlight, but there are also moments of sadness. John has only been in the house a short while, and we see him sobbing in bed one morning, but he is interrupted by a loud, rhythmic banging. The housekeeper, Mr. Tuttle, thinks it's just the boiler and pipes acting up, but John reminds him that it happens at 6 AM every time, which seems rather unusual. That is one of the first signs that something isn't quite right at the house. We also see John's piano start to play itself when he steps out of the room for a moment. As John's stay at the house continues, the ghostly presence begins to up the ante. As John is leaving the house one morning, a window from a room on the top floor seems to smash itself from the inside out, and not long after that, the taps in the house turn themselves on. This is all to lure John to the hidden room at the top of the house. There's a fantastic sequence in the film where John finds a hidden stairway behind a closet wall. It's very well done and very creepy. As John uses a hammer to break the padlock on the door, the rhythm of the hammer strikes mirrors the banging that occurred every morning. Once John finds the room, which is covered with dust and cobwebs and perhaps the scariest wheelchair in movie history, the core mystery at the heart of the film begins. Again, the film doesn't rush to give the characters or the audience any quick or easy answers. It even sends John and Claire down the wrong path at first, as they believe that the presence in the house is connected to a young girl that was struck down by a cart outside. Another part of the mystery that I love is the connection between the music box that is found in the attic room and John. John has been working on a new musical composition, and when John opens the music box, it plays the exact same piece of music that he's just composed. It's a great reveal, and it seems that the ghostly presence in the house has been influencing John in some way. I really enjoyed that the film takes time to establish the characters and to reveal the truth around the ghost in the house and how it is connected to Senator Carmichael. It's a slow burn that we probably wouldn't get if this film was remade today. Number 5. George C. Scott and Trish Van Devere. When I first saw The Changeling, I was struck with the genuine chemistry between George C. Scott and Trish Van Devere as John Russell and Claire Norman. There is a real spark between them in all of their scenes, so when I did a little research, it was then I found out that Scott and Van Devere were actually married, and The Changeling was the 8th movie they'd made together. They both give excellent performances, and I love them on screen together. The character of Claire helps get John the house and assists him when he begins to investigate the strange goings-on. Another thing I love is that the film doesn't go down the obvious path and pair them up romantically. John's wife has only been dead for a few months, so it doesn't seem that appropriate, but the story could have easily had John and Claire become romantically involved. There are some great scenes between the two of them, and I really enjoy that aspect of the film. Number 6. The séance sequence. My favourite sequence of the film is the séance. The actual séance itself is pretty spooky, but for me the film is even more terrifying after the séance, where John plays back the recording and hears the voice of the ghost that is haunting the house. After finding the room at the top of the house and the other spooky goings on, John is convinced that the house is haunted, and he brings in a medium, Leia Harmon, and her husband Albert to try and communicate with the ghost. After Leia inspects the attic room, she begins the séance. During the séance, Leia enters a trance-like state and begins to communicate with the ghost using pencil and paper to write down what she's being told. The spirit identifies itself as Joseph, a young crippled boy who was murdered in the house many years earlier. His father, an influential man, secretly replaced him with another child to cover up the crime and preserve the family fortune. This is the act that gives the film its title, The Changeling. As the séance intensifies, the atmosphere grows charged, the table shakes, objects move, and a violent force seems to fill the room. Later that night, John listens back to the tape recording of the séance, and he hears a child's voice answering the medium's questions, which is something that no one heard during the session. The voice confirms the story of murder and betrayal, and pleads for help in uncovering the truth. It is always this part of the scene that scares me. We hear Joseph give more clues to what happened to him, and we hear Joseph's ghostly cries of My father, my room, can't walk. Father, the well. Took the dark, my medal, body wet, the well. I'm doing it no justice, but that moment is so eerie. This, along with some of the imagery we see during the film of the young boy being drowned in the bathtub by his father, paints a really disturbing picture of what occurred. The sound design here is exceptional, with the hiss of the reel-to-reel tape and the disembodied voice of Joseph combining to make the scene so effective. This moment propels John into the second half of the film, from confusion to purpose. The haunting is no longer random, it's a plea for justice. The séance transforms the story from a ghost mystery into a moral quest. It's as if John understands that Joseph isn't haunting him, Joseph wants his story told, and this is the significant turning point of the film. The séance scene in The Changeling is a masterclass in quiet horror. There are no jump scares, no CGI ghosts, and barely any music, yet it's one of the most unsettling scenes in the film. Director Peter Medak stages the scene almost like a documentary, with static shots and slow pans. It isn't showy, and it doesn't rely on jump scares or any loud bangs. The way it's directed, along with the incredible sound design that leads to that revelation, make it my favourite thing about the film. Number 7. The Red Ball. If there's one image that lingers long after the credits roll, it's that red ball bouncing down the stairs. Simple, innocent, terrifying, but why does it hit so hard? On the surface, it's just a child's toy, something John's daughter once played with before tragedy struck. When it mysteriously reappears in the haunted mansion, it's like John's grief has come with him. He tries to throw it away, literally tossing it into a river, but moments later when he gets home, the red ball comes down the stairs again. You can't outrun grief, and you can't bury the past. That moment when the ball bounces back down the stairs after John has tossed it into the river is absolutely chilling. I can't remember the last time a child's toy scared me. Since Chucky anyway. Or the scary clown doll from Poltergeist. Yeah, okay, there are many examples of scary toys in the movies. The red ball also links two lost children, John's daughter and Joseph Carmichael. It's their shared symbol, like a bridge between the living and the dead. Visually, that pop of red against the mansion's cold grey tones says it all. It's the colour of childhood and blood, of love and loss. It's a reminder that innocence and violence are hopelessly intertwined in this story. So when that ball bounces back into frame, it's not just a jump scare. It's the past demanding attention. Joseph wants the truth told. Number 8. The scariest wheelchair put on film. When John first discovers the attic room, one of the scariest things for me is the wheelchair. The fact that the chair is small and child-sized makes it even more difficult to look at. It's just sat there, covered in dust and cobwebs. The chair itself symbolises a couple of things. It's a metaphor for Joseph Carmichael's entrapment. Joseph was crippled and could not move or leave the house. It is also used as a representation of Joseph's anger. There are a few moments in the film where the wheelchair seems to take on a life of its own. It rolls down hallways, and at one point in the film it chases Claire down a hallway. Now, to be honest, I find that scene a little comical, but Trish Van Devere does sell the terror that Claire is feeling at that point. The design of the chair is great, and it was used to great effect on the film's poster. Number 9. The final confrontation. The climax of the movie is a sequence of two halves. The first half is the meeting between John and Senator Carmichael. It is a fabulous scene, and both George C. Scott and Mervyn Douglas are superb in it. After trying to get Carmichael's attention earlier in the film, and Joseph somehow helping dispense with pesky corrupt cops who interfere, Carmichael agrees to see John. John explains what he has found out, that Carmichael isn't the real Joseph, he is a replacement for him, a changeling. His father murdered the real Joseph and replaced him with Carmichael to ensure that the family would receive their inheritance. John also has the identical medal that was found next to the buried body of Joseph in the well. Carmichael at first responds the only way he knows how, by reaching for his checkbook. Checkbooks, do you remember those, kids? He thinks that John is there to blackmail him. John refuses to take any money. He is there out of a duty to the ghost of Joseph to help shed light on the truth. In this scene, I almost feel sorry for Carmichael, and another thing I love about the film is the ambiguity of that character. Even after multiple viewings, I'm unsure if he knew what had happened or if he was hearing this revelation for the first time. If he didn't know, he is having his entire life being turned upside down. He is learning that his father murdered a young child and he himself is not the real son. It must be devastating. Mervyn Douglas plays this scene very well, but the character soon reverts to anger and denial. He insists that his father was an honourable man, but as John continues to explain the story, his composure continues to worsen. He is struggling with the revelation about his father and the fact he may have been living a lie for his whole life. John leaves all of the evidence with Carmichael, the séance recording, the identical medal, and all of the paperwork that he obtained through the investigation. He considers the matter closed. Even as he is leaving, Carmichael still threatens John, but John returns to the house. And this is where the second half of the climax kicks in. As John gets to the house, Joseph has gone from wanting his story to be told to a full-on tantrum. At this point in the story, John thinks that he's fulfilled his obligation to Joseph and doesn't understand why Joseph is having a full-on tanty. For me, this is the only point in the story where Joseph is an actual threat to John and Claire. We've already had the slightly comical scene where Joseph wheels chair, tries to run Claire over, and now he's making the whole house shake, with chandeliers falling from the ceiling and random fires starting. The haunting is reaching fever pitch, leaving John concussed on the floor. It's here the film's supernatural leanings do turn up a notch. As John is lying on the floor, he sees Senator Carmichael head up the stairs of the house and head towards the attic room. In reality, Carmichael is still at his office, but is experiencing a psychic confrontation of his own. As the Chessman Park house begins to crumble under Joseph's wrath, the medals on Carmichael's portrait of his father begin to shake uncontrollably. Carmichael witnesses the murder of Joseph in the attic room via this psychic connection to the house, and this ends up killing him. It's quite a sad ending for the character, but Joseph has finally gotten what he wanted and can finally rest. Claire rescues John from the house, and it burns down. I do like the climax of the film, but I do prefer the scene between Russell and Senator Carmichael. As I said earlier, George C. Scott and Mervyn Douglas are both fabulous in it, and it's the human drama at the heart of the film. The second half of the climax does go down a supernatural road. It's fun, but after the slow build up to the reveal, it is one of the only points in the film that I don't completely buy. It does lean on some of the haunted house horror tropes a bit too much. Number 10. Obi-Wan Kenobi is in it. Yes, my 10th good thing about the Changeling is a bit of a silly one. I was tempted to put the sequence with the well and Joseph's body in the video, but I decided to go with this one instead because it's me. Did you know that there's a connection to Star Wars and the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Changeling? Actor Bernard Barons, who has a very brief role in the film as one of John's friends in Seattle, played the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the radio adaptations of the original Star Wars trilogy. If you haven't heard the radio versions of Star Wars and you're a fan of the original trilogy, I'd recommend that you seek them out. And if you are a fan of the Star Wars radio dramas, check out my podcast, A Show to Shake the Stars, where I break down each episode. There's a shameless plug for you. So those are my 10 good things about The Changeling. What do you think? Do you agree? Disagree? Is there anything really obvious that I've forgotten? Are you annoyed that I've shoehorned Star Wars into it? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. There'll be plenty more videos coming up soon, and if you could also share this video with friends, that would be awesome. Also, this video will be added to the 10 Good Things horror playlist, where you can also find my previous videos that discuss Jaws 2, Damien Omen 2, and The Exorcist 3. I'll be back again soon with another 10 Good Things video, but in the meantime, good night.